See, MAGA aren't Christians, they're Pharisees. I call them modern-day Pharisees. They're religious hypocrites. And I'm going to tell you why. Every 4 years, these Pharisees, with their Bible thumping and God first in their bio and crosses and bald eagles and all this nonsense, with all their symbols, they ask themselves, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? That's an interesting question. Because as a person of faith, I believe that the greatest commandment is to love thy neighbor as thyself. It's funny how these pro-life people ask, are you better off? Not, is your neighbor better off? Not, is your family doing better around you? Not, is the country better off? Are you better off? That is the most selfish, self-centered question you can ask anybody. Because that's what it's about. They only care about themselves. They don't care if the entire country suffers. They would be in a neighborhood with 10 neighbors and they're like, I'm voting for Republican because I have more money. Are you not supposed to build your wealth in heaven where moth and rust can't get to them? Are you not supposed to give unto Caesar what is Caesar's? See, you don't want trials and tribulations in your life. When I was younger, I had to walk to work 5 miles each way, to and from work, in rural Oregon. You know what I didn't do? I didn't moan and groan. I was thankful for the job. But not you. You want money. And what did you do in this last election? Because it's important. You overlooked the rape, the child molestation, protecting child molesters. You overlooked felonies, infidelities, insurrection, tax fraud, not running to black people, insulting disabled people because why? Oh, I'm going to get money. He told me I'm going to have a bigger paycheck. You cannot live in both light and darkness. You cannot serve two masters. You cannot say, I hate the libtards, I hate Taylor Swift, and I love Jesus. You cannot go to church and say, F Joe Biden and Joe in the Hoe and love thy neighbor as thyself. It doesn't work that way because you people only love yourself. It's the only thing you know because you're selfish. Every time I have a conversation with somebody that has more than 3 teeth, it's the same thing. It's the lack of empathy. I was at my gym today. My buddy came up to me. He's like, you can't make people care, and you don't care. Because you care more about your white Jesus Christianity, right? You say, well, I can't vote for Democrat because you're pro-life. Cool. Let's talk about that. Did you care about the life of E.G. Carroll that he raped? How about the 25 women that Trump sexually assaulted? How about the families of Officer Sitnick that'll never see him again? How about the 4 other officers on January 6th that took their own lives from the PTSD cause after that day? Do you care about those lives? How about the victims of Epstein Island that have to come out right now, right here, and put themselves out there while the president is purposefully withholding documentation that shows that very likely he is a child molester and he's defending other child molesters? How about the 40,000 people that die from gun violence every year? The 14 million kids that go to school hungry? Because it sure seems like you don't give a damn. But if there's 10 transgender athletes in all of college sports, somehow you people come out of the woodwork in the name of Jesus, right? You don't care about Jesus. It's a catchphrase like, hey, how you doing, dog? Hey, how was your weekend? Hey, what'd you get for Christmas? That's all it is to you people. It's fascinating. The more I make videos, when I look at these Pharisees with red hats, with their gold crosses because they need symbols, and I look at Satan, they're very similar. They both believe in God. They both know the Bible. They both weaponize religion, and neither one of them follow him because faith without works is dead. I didn't vote for Trump because I'm a person of faith. If you think that Jesus was going to vote for a rapist and a child molester, a convicted felon who sat there for 3 hours while the lives of officers were beaten, you need to go shove your gold cross up your ass and go find Jesus. Because you people have one effed up moral compass. You never believed in Jesus. And if you did, you sure the hell don't follow him. It's fascinating that literally Jesus was like broke And yet he was happy and he did all kinds of good things. His disciples were broke. In fact, Jesus told them specifically, if you go into the cities, don't bring anything except for the clothes on your back and your sandals. Paul, who I was named after, spent the last couple years of his life in prison. He didn't complain. Elijah, in the Old Testament, lived by a creek bed for 3 years during a drought being fed by birds. He didn't complain. But you don't like the results of an election, so you attack police officers and you beat them and you beat them and you beat them, but you're pro-life. And then the person you voted for, who rapes women, pardons them. Pardoned the people that literally tased Michael Fanone in the neck and had a heart attack and almost died. And he pardons him, but you're pro-life, so I had to vote for him. And you're so stubborn. You're so anti-Christian that you can't even have the brain power because you have to be right. Pride comes before the fall. Your forced birth. And for the record, women in Texas, on the most recent study, have a 56% increased sepsis rate, which means that women are dying from lack of health care because, of your pro-life laws. It's 2 times as much for white women and 3 times for black women. But you don't care about them because you're pro-life. Yeah, that's what Jesus wants. Amber Thurman died in Georgia because of your pro-life laws, because she didn't get the health care she needed. Audriana Smith was brain dead from complications from her pregnancy. For 4 months, she was on a ventilator. Where's all you pro-life people starting up a GoFundMe for her? That's right. Nowhere to be found. Because you only give a damn about your own lives. Literally the opposite of what Jesus did. The Jesus that you claim to believe, that put the guard's ear back on and said, he who lives by the sword shall die by the sword. He who lives by the gun shall die by the gun. Because that's a whole other conversation, how much you guys worship guns, but you don't care who they murder. The guy that literally went to the cross and died for other people, the least selfless, and said, forgive them for they don't want what they do. Even after all the horrible stuff they did to him, he still said forgiveness. But you people don't like the results of an election, and you beat police officers and you make anonymous death threats because you're pro-life. Because it's all about you and what you want in your white way of white Christianity. It's fascinating when you look at John Lewis, beaten by, Christians, pro-life Christians, just for wanting to vote. Martin Luther King was put in solitary confinement just for wanting to be equal to the white man. And you know what they didn't do? Not one time did they turn to violence. But you, whiny little crybabies, don't like the result of an election, so you beat police officers in the name of Jesus because Jesus created the Second Amendment. Yeah, Jesus signed the Constitution, said nobody ever. But you believe it because you're so stupid. You have 6 teeth and 3 brain cells because somebody along the way told you, and you have such little critical thinking skills that you just believe whatever he says. Donald Trump could spit on you and tell you it's raining. You're like, oh, it was inspired by Jesus. And you do this for everything. My favorite verse in the Bible is Job 2:10. Why do we thank God for all of the good, yet none of the adversity? And that's what you people don't understand. Every time something happens that you don't like, you blame the radical left libtards, or you blame brown immigrants. Or God forbid, Bad Bunny, who is an American citizen, doesn't speak the right form of English or isn't the right shade of white for you. That's a bridge too far. Oh, we're all going to burn in hell. It's all in the name of Jesus. It's always in the name of Jesus. When is the last time that you said, you know what? Maybe I just need to be a better person. Maybe I need to quit complaining about everything in the world. Maybe, just maybe, the adversity was meant to show you who you are. I used to walk to work 5 miles each way in Oregon for 3 years because I was so broke I couldn't afford a bike. I didn't complain. I didn't moan and groan. I used it as a reason to be a better person and to appreciate what I have today. But now you people, you want it right now. You want money, 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 money. Because I'm a Christian, yeah. Build my wealth on earth. Yeah. And then you chose your earthly king. 2016, 2020, and 2024. Because he is your God. You could argue that money is your God. You cannot serve 2 masters. You cannot love money and say you're building your wealth in heaven. You cannot say, I hate the radical left libtards and say, I love my neighbor as myself. You cannot have it that way. You cannot say you're pro-life and then vote for a president that rapes women. This is why people don't want to go to church. It's not because they don't believe in God. It's because you're a piss poor reflection of what God stands for and what Jesus stood for. And I don't care if you believe in God, don't believe in God, worship a grasshopper, live your life. I don't care who you marry, who you love. It's your life. And see, that's what a person of faith is. I love you for who you are, not for who I want you to be. And ultimately, that's really what it means to be a Pharisee, a MAGA Christian, is you want to force your white Christianity. You can be white and do no wrong, but you can't vote for Pete Buttigieg because he's gay, and that's against the will of God. But you can vote for Donald Trump and all the horrible stuff he's done because, hey, no one's perfect. I got more money. Good talk. Have a good day.